The Menticide Manual by Thorsten J. Pattberg. Wokeness or Euphoria. Fade In. International Lecture Series. We're inside Lecture Hall 2, David Hume Building. Professor PETER JOR HANDSOME takes the platform. The hall is packed. Students unruly. Activists can be heard through the back doors and the hallway. One black security stands to the left of the speaker. PETER JOR HANDSOME. Good morning, humans, I guess. In today's talk we shall discuss the aims and goals of those among us who define themselves as being woke. Student interjects. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Laughter. PETER JOR HANDSOME. Wokeness is the euphoria about gender and race. Euphoria in psychology is the mental state of aggravated happiness. Professor makes it a habit to walk up and down while he speaks. As he concentrates and recalls from memory, he rarely does make eye contact with students. PETER JOR HANDSOME. The woke are extremely euphoric about their discovery of all the races and genders. To them, getting woke is the most important thing in the world. It is caused by excess release of neurotransmitters dopamine and serotonin in their brains, leading to feelings of extreme felicity. The woke people engage in the stimulation of their pleasure system by indulging in unremitting sexism and racism. A group of activists make noise in the back row seats. More activists enter the hall from the back but can't find seats. Students look stoic. Professor uses hand gestures when describing the brain. He is in a heightened mood and clearly loves himself talking. PETER JOR HANDSOME. The brain has such a pleasure center because evolution made sure that we Homo sapiens were getting rewarded for things we'd accomplished. Now, what makes us feel accomplished? The 5 known human accomplishments that lead to enduring euphoria have not changed much since our ancient philosophers' obsession with happiness and the pursuit of such. Those accomplishments are the following: status symbols, entertainment, substances, exercise, and lovemaking. He pauses for effect. Beyond experiencing those things, it is of course entirely possible to simulate accomplishments. For example, by just reading about it in a book. Or by playing a role-playing game on a computer with your friends. We even get ecstatic and excited when a player scores for our team. Now, what exactly gives us the ultimate pleasure? Destroying other people's lives surely can't be on such a list, or can it? Actually yes, destroying other people's lives can cause excess release of dopamine and serotonin in the brain, on one condition, however. He stands and points the finger up. That the destroyer feels accomplished and is rewarded. Wokeness and the woke endlessly attack, shame and abuse the natural gender and biology among themselves, and among others for sheer pleasure and in order to feel accomplished and get rewarded for it. Blur out. Blur in. Camera is now focused on Professor as he walks up and down while he talks. PETER JOR HANDSOME. First, the case of race. The intense pleasure derived from killing and destruction is unique to humans. At one point in our evolution, we became aware of us being different from other creations, especially all animals. So we squashed them. This was Woke 1, or about 2 million years ago. After humans reigned supreme over all animals, they turned against other humans and subhumans. See, Homo sapiens were not the only humanoids. Homo sapiens simply destroyed other humanoid life forms such as the Neanderthals and other lineages of hominins. That was Woke 2, or about 40,000 years ago. After Homo sapiens were alone and spread over the entire planet, The various factions by then had adapted to their natural environments and formed unique civilizations. They unwittingly competed against each other for supremacy. Hundreds of ancient civilizations, such as the Babylonians, the Spartans, the Ostrogoths and so on, fell. Today's remaining ones are often numbered to be just 28, 12 or just 8, depending on the historian you ask. Those human races further lost their distinctive features, and it is often difficult for tourists to tell a Saxon from a Huguenot or a Korean from a Japanese. But one universal discrimination remains. We can still clearly see that there exist at least three racial groups, namely the Caucasoid, Europeans, the Mongoloid, East Asians, and the Negroid, Africans. This was Woke 3, or 60 years ago. Woke 4 will lead humanity to one single race only. Wokeness and the woke want to eliminate the racial distinctions once and for all. Hence their battle cry: race is a social construct. Activist shouts from the back. Because it is a social construct, you know. Laughter. Student shouts. Let's go, Randon. Let's go, Randon. More laughter. Activist. What does that even mean? PETER JOR HANDSOME. Next, the case of gender. Each and every one of us that ever lived up to the second millennium, that is over 90 billion Homo sapiens in total, was the result of a birth given by a female about 9 months after having been inseminated by a male. Not only that biological distinction between females and males guaranteed our survival, but also the resulting social or gender roles that emerged. Both men and women made the best of their strengths and weaknesses, and they worked together and brought us to where we are today. This strict division between the sexes and their genders over the last 300,000 years or so, however, has resulted in men and women evolving differently and excelled at different tasks. Men, for example, are mostly expandable soldiers, laborers and risk-takers. Women are more agreeable and look after the elderly and the offspring. Most men did not procreate, but most women did. This inevitable led to a few men taking control of all resources and enslaving the rest of weaker men, and by extension they build a patriarchy in which males had to work really hard full-time to attract a female. Wokeness and the woke want to eliminate those sex and gender imbalances, or at least force all of us to ignore them. A fat white activist shouts. Misogynist? Go away. Camera shifts to activists in the back. About 50 diverse and colorful protesters, mostly female. One pair of students is seen leaving the lecture hall through the back door. Camera shifts back to the platform. PETER JOR HANDSOME. Now, let's talk about the political dimension of wokeness. Since the European civilization proved to be the most accomplished and successful one, white males, by definition of all the things I just said, rank at the top of the international order. So, wokeness and the woke want to extrapolate power and wealth and status away from those whites. So they target whites. Which is racism. They target white males even more. Which is sexism. Activist chants. Black Lives Matter. 2 more activists join the chant, but we don't get to see them. Black Lives Matter. PETER JOR HANDSOME. However, it is not racism and sexism to them. Because to them it is just a means to ruin whites and males in the end. So, the woke justify their mission as anti-racism in spirit, because it would lead, as we are promised, to a more colorful world. Activist interjects. Nazi, go home. A groan goes through the student's body. Some students moan. Boo! Boo! One student shouts. Shut the fuck up. Let him speak. PETER JOR HANDSOME. I saw many white academics and distinguished professors fuming at this woke nonsense. I am afraid that their reasonable objections will have no impact during Woke 4. For it is mostly white leaders themselves who ordered the massacre on whites. Despite the fact that whites of European descent only account for barely 11% of the world's population, the woke insist that white nations must be racially dissolved. So, it doesn't matter whether we psychologists or some anthropologists disagree with wokeness and woke culture, or whether we really believe that there are no distinctive races and no two complementary genders. Wokeness is part of a radical awakening in the West. It is the logical continuation of Western enlightenment and emancipation that started with the French Revolution. All humans are equal. We are told that the reign of white man is over, and that we must endure race mixing, affirmative action and gender quotas in order to deliver Woke 4. A female activist with blue hair is making her way past the students and to the front. Blue? I want to talk to Jor Handsome. Jor Handsome, do you have any comments on the Nazi presence at your protest? Professor appears off guard and shocked. He tries to ignore her. PETER JOR HANDSOME. And on to the psychological effects of woke euphoria. The woke engage in cult-like behavior. We could see this from disturbing images in 2015. When Swedish and German women cried welcome. When the trains brought in tens of thousands of Islamic and African male migrants. Of course, those migrants will never assimilate. They are most valuable just the way they are. Or, as the President of Germany, Walter Steinmeier, exclaimed in 2016, what the migrants bring us is more valuable than gold. Blue from before is at it again. She holds her mobile phone at arm's length and is filming the professor. Blue? Jor Handsome, why are there Nazis and white supremacists at your protest? Do you have any comment on that? PETER JOR HANDSOME. Please let me finish my talk. I might answer comments later. And please do not film. This lecture is being recorded and you can find it later on our homepage. I've lost my thread. Where were we? Ah, yes, gender euphoria. The woke invent new genders, 58 to be exact, according to social media monopolist Facebook. These include cis, fluids, queers, neutroids and trans. Another activist from the back row interjects. Oh, now he's going full homophobic. PETER JOR HANDSOME. Visibly shocked. For example, in American schools white pupils have to undergo anti-racism and anti-white supremacy training. And in Europe, non-whites enjoy extraterritoriality, meaning they control inner cities or certain suburbs and operate under different, more benevolent set of rules. Non-whites do not have to pass difficult tests, do not need excellent grades, and they receive lesser or no punishment for certain crimes. A teenage girl in Hamburg in Germany was raped in a public park by 12 migrants, 9 of them who could be identified via DNA traces of their sperm. All 9 rapists walked free the same day, because the police didn't want to appear racist. A woman in Philadelphia in the United States was raped in public on a train and the bystanders did nothing because the rapist was a black man, and no bystander wanted to be labeled a racist. Student interjects. Let's go, Brandon. Laughter. Female activist reacts. You are so stupid. Professor briefly watches in disbelief. He picks up his talk again. The activists in the back are noisy. The students in the front are unruly. Security is on the guard. The atmosphere is not good. PETER JOR HANDSOME. This is really happening, if we like it or not. The woke got their wokistan. Whites must be made unemployable and reprehensible. They must not form gatherings, organizations or even fraternities. They need to be accompanied by a non-white officer for diversity and inclusion. In Canada, preferring a male PhD candidate amounts to sexism, which is a hate crime. Instead, we follow the European Union in that all our positions must be phrased gender-neutral or posted in MFD code, which stands for male, female and diverse. In fact, the EU is so hyped up about all this, about the total destruction of gender and ethnicity, it now wants to eliminate the words race and man from its laws and its constitution. You can look it up yourself on the EU's own websites. It is called the Fundamental Human Rights Charter or so. It says we must not discriminate on grounds of sexual orientation, gender identity and sex characteristics, which, yes, in theory also includes sex with minors and animals. This will be the next logical step. That said, the Joe Biden US government is not far behind. The Democrats have completely embraced the woke ideology of DIE. That's the acronym for diversity, inclusion, and equity. Since it was white males who founded and who dominated America for so long, Lincoln, Jefferson, Lee, the entire history of the United States does not match the science of woke for and needs to be revised. Blue interrupts. Professor Jor Handsome, do your views? Do your own views align with those slave owners and with white colonialists? Student. Stop interrupting him. PETER JOR HANDSOME. That's a good question. Of course I do not condone the Founding Fathers. On the contrary, I am going so far as to suggest that the colonialists were really just woke. When the white European colonists conquered North America and East Asia, they experienced first-hand race and gender euphoria. It is a great pleasurable feeling to dominate another race and practice lovemaking with exotic females. Discovery is the I found it. Eureka moment. It heightens the human spirit. Hence the 1776 American Declaration of Independence stressing the pursuit of happiness, which back then meant to hump all the Indians or girl slaves or whatever, conquer the rest of the continent, take over the empire from the British, and collect foreign status symbols and females. Western imperialism, psychologically speaking, was a hedonistic self-perpetuating victory march, a really happy and satisfying string of human accomplishments. Just imagine what would be going on here on Earth if our people discovered a strange planet and brought home the greatest treasures and horny women. A black male student interjects. Then we owe them reparations. Student. Here we go again. PETER JOR HANDSOME. Not at all. See, those people were sold out and thrown under the bus by their own leaders. This race and sex euphoria I was talking about also explains the seemingly suicidal compliance of corrupt leaders. When Angela Merkel. Well, she is called the God Empress in Europe. When Angela Merkel opened the borders to 2 million mostly male migrants from Africa and the Middle East, there was among her ministers and co-conspirators the same euphoria. Similar to what once befell the Aztec Empire under Emperor Moctezuma II and the Qing dynasty under Empress Dowager c11. Those tyrants understand very well the consequences for their own people. But, see? In politics you make a lot of enemies, and you probably also maximally exploited your own people. So those emperors and empresses sensed a chance of being part of something even bigger. So they threw their own people under the bus and conspired with foreigners. They went woke. Blue? Do you know how offensive this sounds? Are you saying colonialism was their own fault? How? I am speaking. How can this university allow white supremacist theories? I will file a complaint. PETER JOR HANDSOME. File all you want. I am almost done here. And please buy my book The 3 Rules of Life. Male activist. Go woke. Or go broke. Activists and blue chanting in unison. Go woke. Or go broke. Go woke. Or go broke. PETER JOR HANDSOME. I'm afraid, the future of wokeness is this: if the woke get away with it, we could be looking at a very dysfunctional, very incompetent and very abusive century. Females and non-whites are going to be on top. And they will be policing race and gender everywhere. And their dopamine and serotonin levels go through the roof as they keep hunting down the remaining whites as racists or white supremacists. And they are being rewarded for this by our own irresponsible governments. Zoom out. Professor leaves the platform with resignation on his face. Black security shields him from the woke mob. While grabbing his jacket and briefcase from a chair, he speaks loud to himself. Zoom in. PETER JOR HANDSOME. I can't do this anymore. We will have to move online. The speaker leaves. Fade out.